What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Jet's Fishing Adventures, and we have something big to tell you. We've reached 500 subs. Woo! We reached it actually Monday, which is today's Tuesday. Thank y'all so much for allowing me to teach y'all and to come with me on my fishing adventures. It really means a lot. So with that being said, we're going to do a giveaway. I'm not figured out how I'm going to go about doing it, but be on the lookout in future videos and my Facebook and Instagram. So if you don't follow there, make sure to go and follow. That way you can keep up to date with all the information with the giveaway. But from the bottom of my heart, thank y'all for subbing. It really means a lot. Without further ado, we're going to talk about the baits, my top 3 baits, and then the bonus one for the month of April. Let's go. Getting into April, particularly in the central part of the United States, our water temp is somewhere between the low 60s and mid to high 60s typically. So what that means, we will have fish in the pre-spawn and spawning season, and also you might even have a few that are post-spawn. So the baits that I'm going to talk about today are going to be kind of a mixture of a reaction style baits and baits you kind of have to slow down and particularly pick apart a bed. A lot of fish will be on bed this time of year, and it can be a fun way to fish, be a nerve-wracking and a slow way to fish. So in a tournament, you don't really want to waste your time on one fish, but when you're just having fun, it could be a really blast sitting there watching this one fish casting in. So my number 1 bait for April is the old-fashioned spinnerbait. You can go with Colorado blades. I just like a double willow leaf. That's my favorite. Not sure what brand this is. I think it's like a Strike Zone. But another brand that I love and is a sponsor of mine is the Thunder Rocket Lures. It has the big thunder rattle on the back. I like those as well. But I typically fish around brush, windy banks. Spinnerbait really shines when it's a little bit choppy on the water with a little bit of cloud cover and wind. And if you fish around Tennessee at all, you know this time of year, every time you go fishing, it's going to be windy. So I like a spinnerbait this time of year. This has a Thresher 4.2 on the back, the pure white. I think it pairs perfect with this bait. But this is it's almost like a kind of a secret lure nowadays. People used to fish it all the time, but they've kind of gotten away from it using the chatterbait. I do fish a chatterbait more than a spinnerbait, but I wanted to talk about a different technique than what I did last month. And most of the way, last month baits still come into play this month. So don't just give up on the baits I talked about last month. But a spinnerbait this time of year can be deadly. You can even go with a twin Colorado blade, and one of the blade run like a red blade, and it can be fire too. So my number 2 bait, this will actually be the first bait that's more of a finesse technique that I've talked about in a top 3 bait per month video, and that would be a shaky head. I love a shaky head. This is a Torrance Striker 6.0 on a Owner Ultra hook. Now this is a little bit heavier than I typically use. I use around at 1/8, even a quarter, and I'll throw it on a spinning rod a lot of times. But if I'm running something about this heavy, I'll actually use a bait caster, a 7'3" medium heavy. Actually, let's go back to the spinnerbait. I completely forgot. So my setup on the spinnerbait is a Lew's Speed Spool KVD, and then I have it on a Cashin. It's actually a worm and jig rod. It's a 7'3" medium heavy. I love this kind of rod. I got one rod that I will talk about here in a minute that is my all-time favorite, and it's the same action, but it's a Elite Series. This is the Icon. This rod's really good for jigs, kind of lighter jigs, worms, but I've actually found it to be a really good spinnerbait rod too. Since I bought this rod, Cashin actually came out with a spinnerbait icon rod. I've not been able to buy one yet, but I'm definitely going to check it out here soon. But getting back to the shaky head, so I fish it on almost the same exact rod, a 7'3", medium heavy with a fast tip, and my spinning rod is a 7'2", medium heavy with a kind of a moderate tip where you can really kind of load up and set the hook. So going back to this time of year, you're going to be fishing a lot of beds. The fish are going to be more, they're going to be protecting their beds more. And so running a shaky head over the top of the bed and just letting it sit there, you get a lot of good bites doing this time of year. Problem is, if you've ever bed fish, you'll be fishing on a bed, as you see right here. The male will come up and grab the tail and move it off the bed and drop it. So you got to make sure the fish have it before you set the hook. Most of the time, if you set the hook, they will not bite this again. But this time of year, my PB was on a shaky head. It was not on this worm. This is before the striker came out. My other favorite worm to use is just the classic Zoom trick worm and the June bug. I'm a June bug fanatic. If they're not hitting a green pumpkin or a black and blue striker, I'll switch to this, and they are always eating a June bug Zoom trick worm. But this is actually a shaky head with a June bug trick worm was where my personal best. I think it was around 7.3 ounces at Winsport Lakes. You've seen me fish there before. So this time of year, fishing one of these can be deadly. So let's go on to my third favorite bait for this month. If you know me, you've seen me fish a wacky worm a lot. But for my top three, I'm going to just do it as a basic Cinco. You can fish a Cinco so many different ways. Three of my favorite ways is one, a wacky rig, and that is on a VMC Nico rig, weedless. That's my favorite hook. It's a number 2. I got it paired. The leader line is 10-pound Seaguar and Vizex. The lighter line you can go, it kind of slows the sink rate, and it lets that action really make it have a little bit more action. A couple of my favorite baits to use weightless is the Power Bait General. This is probably my all-time favorite for a wacky rig style. I know a lot of people will live and die by the Yamamoto Cinco, but in my opinion, I think this bad boy right here has a really good action, and the power set, it's really good. But I just pair it, put it in the middle here, run it out, and that's how it is right there. I got it a little bit off centered, but it just goes and it sinks in the water like that. I did not realize a lot of people don't fish it the way I do. So I cast it out, I let it sink to the bottom, and then I work it back up and let it sink back. Work it back up, let it sink back. I've been told by a couple of people that they've always just casted it, let it sink to the bottom, pick it up and reel it back in. I've always done this. This time of year, the fish will be bedding. So if you see a bed, you can flip this over on top of them, or past them particularly. You don't want to go on top. Let it sink down, work it over the bed, and just let it sit there right in front of their face. And you'll watch their gills. Pay attention to their gills, because that's how you know you're going to catch them. They'll sit there. You got to make several casts to a bed fish, and after a while, they'll start kind of flaring out their gills, and they'll eventually kill it. Most of the time, they're just picking it up, like I said on the shaky head, and pulling it off their bed and dropping it. But if you make several casts to the same bed, they'll eventually get mad enough where they want to kill it instead of moving it, and they'll inhale it. And when you do it, set the hook and hold on, because you got a good one. So That's one of my favorite ways to fish a Senko. Another way is to use a Texas rig, use a worm hook with a light. I use a 3/16 tungsten. A little bit of thunder, I gotta hurry up. If I do it this way, my favorite is the Striker 6.0. You can almost use it as like a floating worm, but that's my favorite. The Striker rigged up on a Texas rig, and I'll do a general rigged up on a weedless Texas rig. The Striker, the Torrent Striker 6.0, it has a kind of a buoyancy to it. Gotta hurry up. Has kind of a buoyancy to it, so it don't really sink fast. But the nice thing about when you Texas rig a Striker is the very end of this tail, and going back to the shaky head, it does the same thing. That end of that tail moves so much, if you can see it. I'll just sit here. I'm not moving at all, and you can still see it twigging. So that's one reason why I love the Striker 6.0. Alright, so it wouldn't be a 3 bait video without a 4th one. So we're going to kind of have some fun on this 4th bait. This time of year, the water temp's getting in that 60 to 69, that low 60s. And what does it mean when the water gets in that 60 to, or get above 60? Top water action. I don't know any bass angler that does not enjoy top water. It can be some of the funnest fishing. Now, it can be kind of frustrating too, because you see them before they actually hook, before you get them on the hook. But my top 4 for this video, it has to be a walking style bait. This is a Mega Bass. I think it's called a Mega Bass. It's an evergreen SB 777. It's a shadow blows. A shadow blow. Excuse my southern. But the reason why I'm picking this bait over any other bait this time of year, you can walk this very slow. So the thing about top water action, they got to be very active to get for you to get them on. So having this, it's a smaller, particularly this evergreen, it's kind of a smaller profile, and I like it because you can really slow walk it. It moves side to side. But even with the the smaller profile, but you can catch some giants on this. I actually switched the hooks out on this one. Gotta hurry it up. To owners, and then I put a feather on the end. To me, having a feather on any top water treble hook bait is a must. It really kind of, it almost acts like a brake for the back, so it moves a lot slower when you're working it real slow. I actually use straight braid. I know a lot of people use a little bit of a mono leader. You can do that. Just run you off like a half a foot to a foot of mono. That just keeps it from getting wrapped around the braid. I, for one, don't feel it's necessary. I like to have a strong knot. I feel like if you use mono, it's a chance of getting nicked on stuff. And I fish this around some cover. Like, I'll flip it around some cover, cast it around docks. And that's kind of where you want to do. I fish this on points a lot, around rocky points, around rocky bank. And having a little bit of a mono leader, it kind of concerns me getting nicked. But I actually run it on my absolute favorite rod. It's a Cashin Elite Series 7'3" medium heavy. This rod, it was probably never designed for top waters, but I'll back up here. It's got a really nice tip on it, and it's got a really firm midsection. I like fishing this rod with a top water treble hook around grass a lot, and with that added strength of the rod, you can really pull them out of the grass. It's on a Lew's speed spool. No, it's on a Lew's BB1 Pro. I love this reel. They don't sadly make this reel anymore. If you know where I can find some, let me know. I'll buy them. I love this reel. It casts a mile. So that's my number 4 and probably the funnest bait you can fish this time of year. April can be a very fun month. It can be kind of a frustrating month. A lot of fish are transitioning this time of year. So a lot of times the fish you find today may not be there tomorrow. And weather has a lot to do with it too. Currently there's a cold front moving in right now, if you hear the thunder in the background, and that will cause the fish, it's supposed to be colder the next 2 days. So if the fish are moving into the shallows, a lot of times they'll back out to the secondary points because the water temp's fluctuating. But anytime it's around that 65, that's the magic number, 65-degree water temp and hotter, that's when the fish are wanting to spawn. And if you have any full moon, if you can get the water temp 65 or hotter and a full moon, that's going to be lights out. Now, even if it's a cold day, I'd still get out there. You're not going to catch any fish on the couch. That's what I always say. So this month, it can be very fun, but like I said, it can be frustrating. But you won't know unless you get out there. So grab something to drink, grab your rods, and let's go fishing. I'd like to thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, like, comment, and subscribe for more. We're at 500 subs, so be on the lookout for a giveaway from all my sponsors. And thanks for subscribing, y'all. It really means a lot to me. So without further ado, let's go fishing.